Hebrew? Oh, Hebrew.
What happened, mate? What's going on?
I'm just waiting for a mate.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
With my scooter outside the dairy, next minute.
Flamin' mongrel, flamin' drug dealer, flamin' menace, flamin' bargain.
The Antipodean
Poddy. Guten Tag, fellow Antipodes. Your boys are back with your favourite, or what we hope is your favourite hour or so on the airwaves, the Antipodean Poddy. In this episode, we've got special guest, Head of Creative at Urban Pubs and Bars, George Katralis. Welcome, George.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
But before we get too far into that, boys, what's been happening or what is happening? What's coming up?
Not too much in October. Obviously, got the half term coming up for the schools and everything. But events wise, we've got the singles night coming up on November 6th.
Yeah, Jimmy Mac's famous singles nights.
Yeah. Which I obviously just sell as myself, and I go there. It's only female tickets to be purchased.
It's just a numbers game, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like if you've got enough there, mate.
Exactly right.
And we've spoken about the fact that sometimes people don't even know it's a single night. You're just there ringing a bell.
Just going
Give
down.
them yes or no cards.
Yeah, just going down to the venue. Just goes, what are your preferences? Just setting my hinge location on. So yeah, just doing that, getting prepped, and as Clint, one of our mates, alluded to earlier when I was talking to him, it's hard to get men there, and I thought this was just us, but it actually turns out that most singles nights. There's one with the fellow I met with who does the chicken, the chicken run. The chicken goes to the pub with all the cash.
Yeah.
It's like a singles night there, and he has 3,000. Last I checked, it was like 3,000 or 2,000 women already pre-signed up, and he's chasing men.
Wow.
Like to get
well, there you go. Aussie and Kiwi men of London sign up to the chicken run. Maybe we can put some details on our socials around that, because why wouldn't you go?
Yeah, to be fair. yeah, exactly.
Unless obviously you're in a committed relationship like Barry and I.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Buzz.
Yeah. Jimmy may have asked if I would join him at the single. No, we actually spoke about doing some interviews.
Yeah.
So the tough conversations did come where I went to my beautiful partner Charlie.
Yeah.
And I did ask. I said, so the boys said, we need to get some more, that live content done. What would your thoughts be if I went down to on Thursday night and just did some content? She said, no problem.
Oh, that's
what kind of event is it?
Speak up, Baz.
She was like, what? What was it? What is it? It's a singer's night. She goes, a singer's night. And I was like, yeah, but your boy, he's down there asking the hard questions. And to her credit, she said, get down there.
Well,
she said, get down there. Have a good time.
That's a partner that's got so much little faith in your...
my interview skills.
Yeah. Well, your ability to pick up birds, mate, I think is what he's getting at.
Maybe. But I think probably both.
Yeah. So you're a pity case. But do you know where it is?
No.
Well, that's a tough start. It's at Bat and Ball Covent Garden, which is in Covent Garden. Crunch the numbers. Which is actually a great segue to our guest George, who's been amongst the Antipodean or the expat community over here for I think about 15 years.
15, coming up to 15. Yeah,
and you're the head of creative at Urban Pubs and Bars, of which Bat and Ball Covent Garden is one of those famous institutions, which opened I think about 5 months ago, was it?
Yeah. It opened in April, I think it was, on a basement bar opened on one of those rare hot April days.
Yep.
So no one was down there. But it was a really great opening, and it's heaving now. Yeah. Now that it's a bit colder.
Yeah. Well, I sat there when I first walked in, and you sort of go obviously down a few stairs and stuff, and they've got rid of the mini golf at the top.
Yeah, the mini golf's gone now, so there's now a third bar. So the venue's got 3 bars, 1 on ground level, 2 downstairs.
Oh, that's music to a certain person's ears.
Yeah.
Full of
down to one, go to another.
Full of games, ping pong, beer pong, karaoke, darts, shuffleboard, and a great little fun fact is our karaoke rooms, which there's 2 of them of.
Oh,
they used to be the Guinness storerooms back in the day. So Guinness, who are opening their next room there, I guess their little factory.
Yeah.
They used to store their Guinness in our
Yeah,
karaoke
so
room.
Guinness are opening a microbrewery or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I think they wanted our site, but we got in there first.
Okay.
But we actually have the historical site.
Yeah. Well, see, when I got shown this venue, and M, who is such a charismatic manager individual, and I was already in love with the venue because the first singles night we ran was just at a pub, and it was a lot of girls just becoming friends with each other, which Nicole alluded to in the previous episode. But I thought I was already sold, and then I went to the karaoke rooms, and it's just literally the screen, and you got like a semicircle sort of couch. You can sit down. And she's like, honestly, you can chuck whatever you want on here. You could put a game of footy on or something like that. It doesn't even have to be karaoke. I'm going, you're kidding me? So like, I could have 15 of my mates in here just sitting there watching the footy, like getting drinks brought. She goes, yeah, exactly. I'm going, this is a dream come true. I was like, so when the singles night fails with the interviews, I'll know exactly what you
I'll be in there by myself. With the interview with the microphone, just talking to myself.
Exactly. Right. Well, we went.
So Origin 1 next year.
Yeah. It'd just be Barry sitting there talking to himself.
I feel I need to be here because help the New South Wales side of this podcast.
Well, because you're Queensland.
Yeah, I'm
and
Queensland.
you're apparently Kiwi, so they're all Queensland.
No, but I'm New South Wales.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. My God.
He's from Lismore.
Lismorean.
He's a Lismorean, that's right.
Lismorean, sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm still very
close to the border.
That term is so debatable.
Home of Grinspoon, right?
Actually,
it is. It is.
Yeah.
How does he know more? How does George know more about his own?
Just a big music, big music nerd over here.
It actually is the home of Greenspoon.
The home of Greenspoon, yeah.
About that.
That's incredible. All right, well we are getting a bit off.
So let's get.
He wasn't on top of
let's get back on track.
We're trading.
I'm just not on it like you are with the censorship, mate. I apologise. But so George, you're from Sydney. You've been in London for 15 years or so.
Yep.
What was the catalyst for your move over to London?
Yeah, so the catalyst my move is a bit of a different story than the usual. So it's I come from a Greek Australian family, which are very rooted in tradition and, dare I say, a little bit backwards at times in their thinking. And early on, I sadly lost my dad when I was a teenager. And when something like that happens to you, obviously it's such a big life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And it sort of changed my life in a way of, well, there's got to be more to this, because Greek parents, they sort of teach you to grow up, get an education, get married, get a job, have kids, make them grandparents, then you die, and then that continues.
That's the Aussie dream, right?
The Aussie dream. That's it. And you know what? Too fair to them, they flee the country during world wars to make that dream a reality.
I'm the same. My grandparents are from Germany and came over after the war and all that kind of stuff to rebuild. So completely get it. And
so when I was about 16, 17, I started working in the David Jones Food Hall in Bondi Junction, and everyone I worked with was a British, Irish, Scottish, English backpacker. And it blew my tiny mind that you could actually live somewhere else, because that option wasn't presented to me. No one ever said to me, oh, you can finish school and then do this. It was just, you need to go and get an education. You need to find a wife. You need to have, it was that kind of thing. Yeah. And these, I say kids because they were, but I was 16, 17. These people are 20, 21, 22. So it was like the big kids.
Yeah.
And they were the first people, like, is sort of lieu of not like having my dad around. They were the first people to take me out for a beer or, take me out to a pub, just take me to do like grown up things. And I was sort of weirdly living that backpacker life through them, sort of going
vicariously.
Yeah, vicariously, sort of going to like a house share in Bondi, or, sort of doing that thing. And then a couple of years sort of went by, and a good mate of mine who I worked with, this guy named Luke, who was Aussie, he was 22, so he was a very big kid, and he graduated uni and sort of just defaulted. I said to him, so you're going to go and get a real job now? And he goes, no, I'm moving to London for 2 years.
Okay. And
I really looked up to this guy. He was like a big brother to me. And I was just like, I want to do that as well. And went and told my family, and it was probably the worst thing I could have ever told them. Yeah. They all just absolutely, the complete opposite of your story. You were saying your parents said, can we come as well? I had the opposite.
Later.
I had the opposite. I think mine, my family just got handcuffs and chained me to the bed for a while.
It's funny you say that because I remember when I was in an apprenticeship in like a printing apprenticeship from the age of 18 or 19, and two of my good mates who were they were apprentices but they were slightly older. They both moved over to London once they finished their apprenticeships, and I remember thinking I just couldn't understand why they were doing it. I'm like, what do you want to move there for? And I probably had the same outlook all the way through my 20s, and it wasn't until I was 30 and I actually moved over here. I was like, you know what, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
So I mean, I personally I hadn't left Australia until I was 22. Never left the country, and Russia was my first country to go to, which was
Can I just ask? What we heard that on the last podcast, I think. Why'd you go to Russia?
So basically I qualified to play for Russia in the Rugby League World Cup.
What?
Through ancestry. So so I just obviously just mentioned that my
Have they not seen you play footy?
mate, three rings says something else, mate. And how many Aussie versus
I've never lost you.
Yeah, but what about
Aussie
Aussie Kiwi guys, mate? Come on now.
Actually, for the first time ever, because obviously Clint from last episode's a hoist. So we've got 2 hoists and 2 warriors, I believe.
Well, I've only ever trained with the Warriors once.
Okay.
You're welcome.
But I did design their logo and their jersey.
Of course, I forgot about this. Yeah.
So I'm rooted in their history without actually having played a game.
Yeah.
And what a bloody history it's got.
So basically I qualified to play for Russia in the World Cup through my grandmother. She was born in Bessarabia, which is part of modern day Romania, which was part of the USSR. So that's how the qualification came around. We had some NRL players in the team. Tim Sheens was the coach.
Is that when Eden Rubin was captain?
No, it was after that.
Okay.
So this is 2007. And basically last minute we were supposed to come over to play a game in Moscow and a game in Dublin. But then the Russians pulled out the funding for the Aussies to go over. The manager of the team goes, "Have you played union?" I said, "Yeah, I grew up playing both." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah." And then 2 weeks later he calls me and goes, "Yeah, you got a flight to Moscow in a week." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So basically, he'd lined up a trial with a professional side in Moscow. I was going over for 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. I was going to have everyone look after me. Went over, none of that materialised. I was basically in this terrible hotel for 2 weeks and it was like being in jail. So, no desire to ever go back. I was kind of pretty cheering for myself.
One thing I would say is there's a show called the Fletch and Hart. Do you know Fletch?
Yeah.
And years ago, they did something on when they beat the Russians, I don't know if it was during that time.
2000 World Cup, that was.
Yeah, well, they beat them.
Okay.
It was like 108-0 or something.
Yeah. They made a joke of it where they were... Anyways, they do a story on the Russians. Was it at the World... I thought they made the World Cup, though, didn't they?
It was 2000 World Cup.
Yeah, so this would have been for the 2008 World Cup, and they definitely didn't make it. I think they got beaten by Lebanon and Ireland in the trials because, as I said, they didn't pay for the Aussies to come over.
Yeah.
They did make the Rugby Union World Cup, and I remember watching it and seeing guys that I trained with during my time over there. But I mean, we've kind of gone off kilter there.
Yeah. So let's get back to our guest. But right, so last we were you had some people with a lot of inspiration. One of your mates said moving over to London.
Yeah. So it took quite a while for me to move over. Like I said, my family were very, very, very opposed to it for quite some time. But it was just a desire that never went away. And I was 28 actually when I moved. So from where the sort of idea was sort of put in there at 19, 20, I was 28 by the time I moved. So it was quite a long time. And
that was entirely because of your family.
Yeah, 100%. So it's quite a story like I don't mind sharing because I've never met anyone with that same story because everyone I've met in Aussie has got some kind of Anglo-Saxon background that it's just a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Whereas I came from, and you might relate, that family is like, well, no, we came here to build this for you. Why on earth do you want to kind of go back? But that desire just sort of never left. And that whole idea of there's got to be more to life than what I was presented.
Yeah.
And over those years, I'd seen friends come and go, and including my mate who sort of inspired me to do so. And I sort of did the same. I sort of came over on a holiday, checked it out because I'd never actually been here, and it's like, this is for me. And went back, bought a ticket, did a visa, all sort of under the cloak of darkness, and just dropped the bomb and was like, see ya.
I mean, to be honest, I think 28's actually a pretty good age. You kind of, you know, you're at your athletic peak. You wouldn't know about that, Jimmy. But
that's because I haven't hit it. I'm still waiting for puberty to come around.
But you've also, you know, for most people, they've established some sort of career. You got a bit of money behind you, so it probably worked out for the best for you, right?
Yeah, that is true. Like by the, you know, like it would have been two different lives, and it's hard to sort of compare because if I came over at 20, I didn't have a career. Like, 'cause I was working at David Jones Food Court, so my career would have been that.
Yeah, you would have been
pulling beers or whatever. But by the time I did come over, I'd been doing graphic design for 5 years at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, I did come over with a portfolio and a bit more of a goal, and like, no, I'm going to do this, and almost stubbornly because I'm sure we'll get onto the topic of employment. Like, there were times when I was not employed.
Yeah,
but I stubbornly was like, no, I'm here to be a graphic designer. I'm not here to pull beers.
Mate, I was exactly the same.
I look back at it now, I'm like, God, that was stupidly stubborn for no reason.
Just go make money. Yeah, just whatever you can do to pay the bills. Because I was exactly the same. I was like, I'm not going to go do that. I've never done it. How do I pull a beer?
Yeah,
I need to get a job in my industry. Not
exactly.
It's interesting you say it because in the first episode, I think the first or second episode, we talked about. First or second episode, we talked about coming to London and having a bit under your belt in terms of your career to really differentiate yourselves. Now, it's different for me and Baz. We're teachers. They're screaming for teachers all across the globe. So we can essentially walk into, you know, most countries and be like, sweet. But for yourself, and obviously, Jared, you talked about it in the first episode, but for yourself, George, would you recommend people in certain careers to be like, no, you should come over a bit later when you've got some career, like something under your belt?
Yeah. I was listening to your old episodes before I came on, and Jared's story and mine are very similar because I'm similar. So I do graphic design for a living, as we're talking about, and you were saying you're in print kind of industry. So very similar kind of industries.
Well, they're intertwined, aren't they? So.
Yeah, and I had that same problem. And funnily enough, I've met people along the years who have worked in finance, law, you know, various different degrees of the world, who have had that same problem where you sort of come over as an Aussie and you're thrown to the bottom of the pile. And I was really not prepared for that because my experience in Oz, when I was working there, anyone who came from London and said, I'm from London, whether they were English or just an Aussie who had done it, they just got the red carpet rolled out for them. So Australia had this thing of like, oh, you're from England, right this way, come to the front of the queue. So I was almost expecting the same thing.
Yeah.
Reception. And sort of came here, and in Australia, I was doing design for Hoyt Cinemas, so like quite a big brand. And so I came over here with like a pretty decent portfolio and was like, yeah, I've done this, and they were like, yeah, we don't know who they are.
Yeah,
you know, and I sort of had to do that comparison of like, have you been to View Cinema? It's like that, you know, but they just had no idea, and
it's a complete disregard, I guess, for the market.
Yeah. And then I was quite fortunate. I went to a recruiter, I think, on my second day and got this 3-month contract. And I think the only reason I got it is because the girl hiring was also a Greek Australian. I don't think it was any other reason that, but it was an awful job, but it was a 3-month contract. And I was naive to go, oh, this is just how it happens. You get this happens all the time. So when it was over, I was just like, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm going to go traveling now. It took another 6 months to find the next piece of work.
Yeah.
And that time you just saw your savings just like going down and down and down.
Were you finding work in those periods, or were you just sort of?
I was certainly looking, but I think I would get like a day of freelance here or there, but no, nothing substantial. And I was sort of refereeing tag rugby in order to make some money, and doing things like that.
I think that's how we met the Mighty B Man.
Oh, okay. Through tag rugby.
Yeah.
So because before you came on, you knew Barry.
Yep.
But there was a nice little, actually, when the cameras weren't rolling, it was a nice little meeting.
I would say that when they said George was coming on, I didn't know the full name. And when you walked in, I thought, oh, God damn, I do know you.
I know you from a singles night.
Me and George met through one of my really good mates, B-Man.
Yep.
One of the great men to ever come through London.
Yeah, good bloke.
Yeah. Like, really good bloke, really nice guy.
How many years ago was this?
Real weapon.
Probably about 5-6 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, because Brendan left a couple of years ago now. He's been back in Oz.
he
for
must have been back in Oz
2,
3-4 years ago now, I reckon.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, he's been
I
gone a
reckon he went
while.
home- I always get confused with COVID. When was COVID?
2020.
He
2020
was
to
he was
22,
in
basically.
actually he was in
21.
New York in 2022 because I went to
Yeah,
I
but
was
he
there and
I'm
we
pretty
caught up.
Sure he was in New York in COVID.
Yes, he was.
So
'cause-
he's been probably
yeah.
left for even longer. So
yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I wonder about with this podcast is that, like, people obviously watching this while in the car or the tube, they're like, "Who is Brendan?" Like,
Well,
who
he's
is this guy?
he's Brendan Smith, not Brandon Smith, not to be confused. Although it may have been
Probably
it
gets
may
up
have been Brendan they were actually looking for in the
yeah,
airport, not Brandon, but
not similar rugby league prowess. Like I say.
But he actually, he's also someone that played quite a like during when I first met him. Brendan was helping out a lot with like filming of the West Warriors.
Well, because he
and
works in that
launching-
industry, so
Like,
he-
he works in like television. So
Yeah.
he works in like filming like he was always traveling around the world, especially with tennis and
Yeah.
like Hawkeye. I
yeah,
think it was Hawkeye and all that
so
kind
he
of stuff.
like that. We talk about it being a small world and kind of knowing people. Like, so he worked with Rick, who's the current vice president,
Of course.
and then he also knew someone that my missus went to school with, who I'm mates with as well. So just small world type thing. Everyone kind of knows.
I always
everyone.
think it's like
6 degrees of separation.
It's crazy. Like you think you come from Australia or New Zealand, you might have this job that's really niche. You get here, it's so not niche.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more. Like, there's
Opportunity.
Such a, yeah.
So much more opportunity.
So like his job, I would have always. I mean, I might don't know the whole community back in Australia, but you'd imagine that's quite niche back there. Here, he was in so much demand.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that if you do have something that's a little bit different, even.
On-
I mean, it's like it can be a teacher, builder. Like I know all those jobs you can get jobs here, but that niche market also can really take off.
Yeah.
But I guess on the flip side of that, so one of the things when I was looking for work when I first got here was, you need UK experience. Like I kept on hearing that.
You said that before.
Yeah.
And so did that happen with you as well?
Yeah, massively. So it was more for me. It was like we don't know what these brands are that you've worked on, and it was just building up your UK experience.
So I think it's more industry experience that matters more than the brand itself, right?
Yeah.
Like you're working for a cinema. Now you're going to work
Well,
for another cinema.
what I found here in my industry particularly is for some reason, and I've since done some research into it, and it goes back to how England's got this class system and various things, and also if you go further back in work, there was unions. So the role of graphic designer in the UK has been split up into 3 different roles. So there's creative artwork designers and art directors. Where back in Australia, you just do it all.
Exactly.
You're just a jack of all trades, right? But here, it's very much just like they love to sort of pigeonhole you into, well, which one of these 3 are you?
Yeah.
And then once you get into like you're this one, it's like, do you have experience in retail? Do you have experience in fashion? Do you have experience in TV? Whatever it is. So it's very much just like you're being pigeonholed, and then you're being pigeonholed again.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of like, oh, well, this job's for retail, but your portfolio shows more entertainment, so therefore we don't think that can translate. And when you sort of showed up and said, oh, actually, I can do a bit of everything, it freaked them out a little bit.
It's funny you mentioned
really
that.
did.
So obviously, I work. You mentioned print. We like to call it omni-channel marketing execution these days because it's an end-to-end solution. So 3 or 4 years
We're
ago,
not going to call it that.
no. So 3 or 4 years ago, I was managing a creative studio, and it was exactly what you just described. This one role has been split into 3, but I used to hire people and go, I want people who are multi-skilled, and if there's something that you don't know how to do, I'll pay to train you, because I want you to be able to pick up any brief that comes in. I don't want it to be this is artwork adaptation, I can do that. This is ground up graphic design.
Yeah.
I find that so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you probably got the skill set to do it all anyway. So I don't really understand why it needs to be split.
Yeah, it is. It was a weird thing, and to sort of because I was freelancing as well. Because originally I was here on a visa when I first moved here. Then got Greek passport and stayed longer, but originally I was on the visa, and because I was on a short visa, I was just getting freelance work because people didn't want to hire you if you were going to leave, and that led into creative artworking, which is not what I do, not what I wanted to do at all.
Yeah, it's the boring side.
It's the rubbish side, and I did learn a lot of skills from it. I won't lie, but it wasn't a career.
It's
for me.
it's very technical. Like if you're a graphic designer, it's more about creativity. Just to kind of for you guys in artworking is like taking existing assets and working with brand guidelines to go. So it's very regimented. It's like you have to follow these guidelines with margins and where the logo placement is and all that kind of stuff. So
I find it very fascinating just listening to you talk about it.
It's the paint by numbers of graphic design, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there any point, like, you know, so many times I sit there sometimes, surely a few times a year I'm going, oh, I might just go home. But in that period when it was so volatile, especially with work, how many times were you sitting there going, oh, screw this, I'm just going to go home?
Not once, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, not once, because as I alluded to before, I fought so hard to be here.
Yeah.
You know, like literally going up against your whole family to sort of follow your something you want to do. Almost the stubbornness in me was like, I'm not giving up. Like I can't be wrong. Like I'm not.
Or something. So the tenacity was, you know, this dream.
Yeah, that's it. So when I came here, I came here with the best mood, the best attitude. I was just threw myself into everything and anything. I was like, I just want to meet people. Like I travel, like all of it. And that was the thing that kept me going. It was the thing of like, I've fought so hard to be here, gone up against like so many people who I care about and love and all the rest of it, just to have this opportunity to turn my back on it. I just would have not be doing myself a service. So that's why in times of like of financial trouble or when it was like very lean, it was like, well, I played tag rugby. They're looking for refs. I'll do that. I'm a big music fan, so I started doing my own walking tours. I started doing, I'm a big Beatles fan, so I started doing like Beatles walking tours on Meetup.
That's incredible.
And was charging tourists like 10 quid to walk them around Abbey Road.
I gave you stick earlier about Grinspoon, but now I'm taking that. I'm rescinding that because I didn't realise what we were dealing with.
Yeah, I'm a massive music fan.
Are you doing them in London?
I haven't done them for about 10 years, but this was when I was broke and had nothing else to do. But it was great. I met some weird people, but some interesting people.
I mean, going from that, like, how did you get into the job of like urban bars and pubs?
Yeah, so urban was like a really great opportunity. So after like, you know, all these years of sort of like trying and whatever, about 10, 11 years ago, I started working for an advertising agency as a freelancer for a week. And then 1 week turned into two turned into 5, and a year and a half I was there as what they call a permalancer, and that was that was in 2012, 2013, I think it was. So that was this job that sort of got my foot in the door, so to speak, because once I got into there, it was quite a big agency. Then recruiters were able to say, "Oh, George has worked for these guys," and they recommend him, and then suddenly I was getting jobs at like Saatchi and JWT and all these like really big agencies, which was looking great on my CV. But again, it was still in this artworking kind of capacity, which is not what I wanted to do. And around the same time, I just started doing a bit of freelance for some small little pub groups, and I just really loved it. But the bread and butter was coming from working in advertising. So I was on a pretty good thing at that time where I was sort of getting a creative outlet out through working for these pubs. And that wasn't urban, that was another little group. And then sort of getting my money from working like my day job.
Yeah.
And during COVID, actually, like I think COVID was for me, it was this really great reset because going just before COVID happened, me and my long-term partner broke up. And quite happily, I'm not going to lie, I was like quite happy that one. But it was one of these really great moments of like, oh cool, like so I'm out of that now. Then COVID happened, and I was working in advertising at the time and was put on furlough for 10 months. It was like the best 10 months of my life, and just went out, was walking, got really fit and enjoyed it. And when it came back, I just didn't want to do advertising anymore. I got to that point where I just don't want to do this, and quit my job. I say quit my job, actually took the redundancy that was being offered. It's like, yeah, I'll take that, great. And had all intention to freelance again. And I was sort of looking around to get back into the hospitality world. And then this job came up into my attention like, oh, urban pubs and bars are looking for a graphic designer. And it just happened to be 2 of them were near my house. So the Whippet in Kensal Rise and the Paradise in Kensal Rise were two.
where I live.
Yeah. So they're two of ours, and I was like, I know those pubs, like and sent an application in, got interviewed, and the rest is history. And
I didn't know that you were a pup. They were right around the corner for us.
there you go.
Mate, 58? Where we go? Yeah, 58 pubs, mate.
Yeah, 58. We've got 58 around London.
That's because for 12 years, sobriety. So
Yeah.
We serve great food as well.
I'm banned from one of them. But I'm not, by the way, people.
mate, that's an incredible. It's incredible listening to that.
What would you say is the biggest struggle you think, like, since you've been here?
Or I guess when you first arrived, like, what was the thing you struggled with the most?
Do you know what? No, I'm not going to lie. It was nothing.
No, you had it easy.
No, not that I had it easy. Not that I had it easy.
Goes in, like, you had your struggle back at home, right?
I came here with the best mindset. So there wasn't like, there were hard times without a doubt of like, you're sitting there eating rice for dinner because you got no money. Like there were times like that.
Yeah.
But there was never a moment where I was like, oh, this is awful.
Just listening to your story, though, I thought your biggest struggle was to get out of Australia.
Well, that's the thing. It's sort of like
family struggle, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, don't get me wrong. Now, my mum would love me to be home, but she was more than happy for me to go and explore the world.
Yeah.
But a part of your culture wasn't.
Is that? I mean, it comes down to culture and stuff. Like I said, my parents were like, they pretty much bought the ticket for me and said, "See you later."
Yeah.
But is that for a lot of cultures? You think?
I think it's definitely a cultural thing. Like I said, I haven't met anyone, like everyone I've met in the UK is Aussie, like you guys are Aussie. When I say that, like come from like an English background and all the rest of it, and it's just this kind of rite of passage. I've not met anyone who's had a similar story to me, but I'm sure there are. So I'm happy to talk about it because there might be some Greek or Italian or Lebanese.
Because that was one thing we were talking about was, do you reckon that you found like a sense of community over here at all? As in, I know being an Aussie, you would have.
Yeah.
The other part of you, like Greek.
The Australian Greek. I mean, obviously you got helped out with that job in the early stages.
Yeah. I think that was just a good little coincidence there. But no, I just found just some independence, which is what I just didn't have back home. Like, I had it within a sort of set boundary, as in like, these are your friends, like these are the people and I love all my friends back home, but it just gave me this freedom. And then as you're going through and you meet people like we're talking about Brendan before and other people, they've also left home for a reason. So you have that sort of that combined,
it's like-minded people.
It's like, what are you here for? I'm here for travel, I'm here for this, I'm here for that. And you just meet people from all walks of life.
I think, like with me, I didn't have those kind of family blockers. Obviously, your parents are, they're sad to see you go and all that kind of thing. But I think, like you, they wished me well. But I know some of my mates were like, "I bet $100 he's back in 6 months." So, like, I wouldn't say it's negativity, but I think people are scared of change, and I think and they almost kind of project their fear on you and go, "Oh, it's gonna be hard." But I think like you, I was like, well, because of that, I'm not going to fail. Like, I need to show them that I can do it.
Barry's just slipped me a note here, and I know the exact one he's
It's
talking
very,
about.
very discreet.
I know. I can't wait to see the camera.
I just looked it up. It's not. It's actually not great.
I think we've the cut-off's 3 beers, is it? But because you talk about family, you talk about the Greek side.
Yeah.
Just Another Greek Wedding, is that the film?
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Wedding. Like, is there some truth behind?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so do you want to take that back? I know, I've been to a Greek wedding.
That is as
there
accurate
is
as
a
it
heap
gets.
behind it.
Look at the way before we get
No.
how he writes.
We won't throw that out.
How he writes an A looks like an R. So I was like, said, what is that Russian Greek wedding? I'm like,
the scene in that film. There's a scene in that film where he goes, "Oh, this is my family. This is my cousin Nikki, my brother Nikki, my girlfriend Nikki." Literally, both my grandfather's named George. I'm named George. My cousin's named George. Like, it's true. That film is absolutely accurate.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Although when you're unwrapping the Christmas gifts and you say George and everyone, no worries, me. And when the big one, you go, that's me.
Or you're in a bar and someone calls out George and 10 guys turn
turn
around. So I think there's been I guess the overall theme of our conversation so far has been employment. So I think that's something that we can kind of tackle in this episode. So I know you boys both being teachers, right? Like, as you said, Jimmy, very easy to find work because there are teacher shortages and all that kind of thing. I mean, what's the process behind that for people that are potentially moving over? Like, recruitment. Like, how do you go about getting a teacher or a teacher's aide role for that matter?
Do you mind if I take the lead? Yeah. So not for those. Yeah. So when you first move over, it's really easy. There's so many agencies. One of the big ones is like ANZUK back home, but like people come over. And there is just a smorgasbord of different agencies at the moment, which is just it's quite an overload. Like I said, I came in 2020, and I joined up with one of them. I'll keep names out of it, obviously, but I joined up with one of them, and then we were sort of myself and a mate. We were at a school during COVID, and we got very lucky with this school because teachers weren't there, so they needed kids to take care of the DA kids. And I alluded to this in the first episode there. But it was really easy when I first came over, and I'll quickly come back to that in a second. But when I first came over, they sort out all the stuff before you get there, and lots of agencies will do this. They'll sort of have someone on the ground back in Australia and New Zealand, and just sort out like the DBSs and the overseas police check and everything like that. Really easy to come over. The problems for me, they start arising when you're in London. Yeah. I always say to people, and I work for St Educate, which is a recruitment agency. But I do always say to people, the end goal is for you to go full-time by yourself with a school and to get away from that. And coming back to what I was talking about during COVID, we found out that the agency I was with was taking in excess of £400 a day from the school, and I was still seeing like £180 umbrella a day. And it's just...
I have the best story about that.
It's just criminal. We'll get to that in 2 seconds, but it's just criminal in terms of those. And it's not strange for teachers to have £100 taken off them per day from an agency, but £100 plus, and we see constant things like this. So for me, I got very lucky because of COVID, everyone was struggling. Lots of Aussies went back, lots of openings went straight through there. But it's the lack of transparency, which is the reason I chose my agency, is because they move away from that, which is fantastic. So you can have these honest conversations, but that's really where you start to fall under. And that's why I always sit there and say, don't go through an agency if you can't. Go through TES or some of these. I think you'd agree as well, and say it to so many people. And when we talk to our head teachers, they're all the same. The agency is the last resort because they know what's
TES is so much. Obviously a huge amount of teachers come over. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, it's fine.
Huge amount of teachers come over. If I was coming over here now, the one thing I'd be looking on every day is TES.
Yeah, and moving away. Sorry.
No, yeah, of course. But the other thing is that if you're being honest, a school doesn't want to pay a finder's fee to someone. So if you say, look, I'm moving here, but they find someone through an agency, they're going to probably go for you if they like you, because they're not going to have to pay that.
Yeah, of course.
What Jimmy was talking about then, I had a really interesting story. I was with a certain agency when I first moved here, and I did long-term supply for the first 3 years when I moved.
3 years?
Oh, 2 years, 2.5 years. 2.5 years, 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I had always kept talking about getting a raise, and they'd always give me a million excuses.
Yeah.
And I started getting infuriated by it. One day, I walked into the office, and the office and the bursary were next to each other. They were in the one office, and I was there for a totally unrelated matter. And I looked down on the desk, and I had the pay slip that they were paying my agency.
Yeah.
And it was £100 that the agency was getting per day.
Yeah.
And this is talking long-term supply on top of me.
Yeah.
So I went home that afternoon and I said, listen, I've seen this. You either give me 50 of that or I'm not going back in tomorrow. And I remember thinking, I'd been there 2 or 3 years. So you remember, and the school pays for or they don't care about the agency. They want me as the teacher there.
Of course, yeah.
So I said, anyways, they said, no, we can't pay you that. They offered me 25. I said, oh, that's fine. I'm just not going to go in tomorrow.
Yeah.
After 2.5 years.
Yeah. So
I remember I got and I'm not trying to step on any toes, but I got a message at 9 o'clock at night saying, okay.
Nice. But it's interesting as well, before we come, because I really want to talk about your recruitment agencies, because that's been something so foreign to me. But before you were here, before you got here, we were talking about the sort of the finder's fees. but it pretty much comes down to I've been out to deputy head teacher conferences, and certain agencies, most of them will charge £300+ per day, and that teacher's seeing 160 or 180 pounds, much like yourself. But the finder's fees that come through, some of them are over 30% of an annual salary for this teacher. And, you know, there's a difference between corporate and there's a difference between schools.
Yeah.
There's a reason. I'm certain there's a correlation between some of these agencies and just the strain on some of these schools and why they're closing down. But moving back from the teaching side of things, because you guys mentioned, and George, you mentioned about the recruitment agency and finding a bit of work. But explain to me about some of these roles and how they work in terms of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the finder's fee side of it. I struggled with recruiters. When I first moved here, London was a very recruiter-heavy place. So everything went through recruiters. I've noticed in the years recent, people have been taking that in-house a lot. So I've been having, you know, like you'll get on LinkedIn, you'll get like a company direct recruiter like internally reach out to you and go, oh, I'm recruiting for so-and-so, you know, whoever it is. But when I first moved here, it was very much a recruiter place, and you just had to sign up for all of them. And, you know, they did their thing. But what I found really underhanded, and I think you guys may have addressed it in one of your earlier podcasts, was they would all have the same clients and pitch you against each other for the same job.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of catching him out one time doing that. So, like I said, I was quite lucky when I first moved here. I went to a recruiter on my second day, and she just happened to have a 3-month contract, and then the person who was hiring was Australian, and I think a bit of nepotism that worked out. But that was such a rarity because, like I said, for 6 months after, apart from an odd day here or there was nothing. Yeah. And then sort of come the end of the year, I got approached again by a same recruiter. And she goes, oh, I've got a job. It's in Notting Hill. I was living in Shepherd's Bush at the time, so it was perfect. And she goes, you know, are you interested? I said, yeah, absolutely. And just didn't hear, like, just crickets. Just heard nothing. So I'm then chasing her back going, like, was there any news on the job? She goes, oh, yeah, sorry, look, they went for someone else. Okay, fine. The next week, I got a call from the same recruiter going, oh, that same company needs someone. Are you free? I said, yeah, and I got in. When I got in, I found out that it was the same recruiter who pitched the person. So they'd obviously put 2 or 3 candidates up. Yeah. So they were getting their commission regardless of what happened. But I sort of like Barry was saying, actually, I sort of did one back on them because I got on really well with the creative director there, and we just really hit it off. And they were looking for someone to work over like a long period, and I said, I'll do it for you, but I don't want to do it through the recruiter. And they were happy to pay me direct. Yeah. So that was quite nice. Like, so it's all about sort of building relationships and, you know, doing a good job and all the rest of it. But I found it hard with recruiters at first.
100%. And I touched on this in episode 1, like you kind of alluded to. What they'll do, they're not like some of the recruiters aren't necessarily engaged with the employer to recruit, but they'll see the job ad and they'll start recruiting for it, and then go and then reach out to the employer and go, oh, I've got such and such. So that's how you end up. And look, I'm in a role now where I'm a hiring manager, and when I put out a job description, I can send it to however many recruiters I want to. Obviously, I've got ones that I trust and that I like to use, so I'll go to the same ones. But you know, in theory, you could have a hiring manager sending it out to like 5, 6, 7 different recruiters, and that's when you land in these situations. Because I was the same, couldn't get any traction with recruiters, and then I'm like, I think they're putting me forward for the same jobs. One of the other things that I got a lot was, you don't have UK experience. I'm like, well, what is that? I've got industry experience. I work in client services, and I still to this day don't really understand what UK experience is. Is it? I don't know it geographically, but there's Google Maps.
It's like what is it in cricket? The spirit of cricket. No one really understands what the hell that is.
But what I would say to anyone that's coming over, don't expect to be able to fire your CV over before you get over here. You're probably not going to get any traction if you're not in the country yet. Don't.
It's a little bit similar. Sorry, but when it comes to getting flats, I was trying to get flats before I got here.
Yeah, it's not.
You've got to see a flat. You've got to go into a flat.
But then also in that one, and that's something. Obviously, we're going to cover a lot down the line with a lot of people. But like they ask for like guarantors and they ask for
Yeah.
employment and stuff as well.
But it's the same with employment and reaching out to recruiters, and obviously reaching out to companies. You're not going to get any traction till you're actually in the country, and you can say, I have the right to work here. Here's my UK address, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So as someone who hires a lot of people now, right, my first port of call will always be to like look at the direct applicants first, because as you guys said, 25-30% is the fee.
Of course.
That's pretty standard. So there's been a lot of people that I've employed that have come through direct, and I look sometimes I look at the CV and I'm like, man, is this legit? Because if it is, then
Too good to be true.
yeah, it almost feels like that. And I think if a recruiter sees that, they're using like AI software and stuff like to kind of whittle all those applications down, because sometimes you get hundreds or even thousands in some cases of applicants.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had one story where there was a guy. He was from Hong Kong. Obviously had a visa because of the relationship between Hong Kong and the UK. And I was like, man, if this guy's CV is legit, then I've hit the gold mine here. And I interviewed him. Couldn't speak much English, very hard to communicate with him, but he understood. I could tell he understood what I was asking him, and he's turned out to be an absolute superstar. And you think about how, and I actually feel good about giving him that opportunity, because imagine, if you're Australian or Kiwi and you speak English, and it's hard. Imagine how hard it is to be a non-English speaker. So yeah, I think that there's going to be definitely. I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't just rely on the recruitment ads. Go on company websites and look at the career section and apply direct, because there are a lot of hiring managers that go, yeah, I don't want to have to pay someone 15 grand or whatever. I want to be able to hire directly.
Well, I say to teachers all the time is some people, for some reason, they feel as if they have this, they have to have this allegiance to just one agency or something. And the thing I always come back with, I'm like, well, do you think what the schools use one agency? No, they just need to fill roles. They'll use 7 or 8 if need be. Like yourself, you're talking, Jared. You'll use however many you need to. You just need to fill that role. But obviously, they're going to go elsewhere, and rightfully so.
Well, I mean, ultimately, when you're trying to hire good people, and if there's a CV that stands out, it's going to be seen. Look, I know there are some exceptions. I've heard in other industries there, as I said, literally thousands of applicants for some of these roles, especially like graduate roles and things like that. But I would hope that anyone coming over here isn't in a looking for a graduate role. They've kind of, as we said, got something behind them, something they can fall back on when they get over here.
Are you George? Like, I'm assuming, obviously being head of creative, you do some your own hiring and stuff.
Yep.
Like that. And do you utilize recruitment agencies as well?
We've got an internal recruiter at the company. So we've got a people team that starts with our HR, like head of HR, and we've got recruitment, development, training. We've got a whole team for that. So we've got South African guy, actually, a fellow named Mark. He does all our recruitment for us. So we advertise just internally on our own page. That's how I found the job as well. He wasn't working for us at the time, but it was just on their page and then on LinkedIn, and it's all been direct. So that goes from, the kitchen porters to the bartenders to the general managers, straight up to
hopefully not head of creative.
Hopefully not head of creative. See that job on there. But right up.
Episode down.
But all our jobs are on there, and all done internal recruiting. And he'll probably do the same. He'll probably go out there and try to poach or get in contact with good people and try to bring them across.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess one thing I want to ask you, obviously we've talked a lot about and covered a lot of topics, because I think we're nearing the end of the podcast, I believe. But last episode, we had Clint Heiner, who I've just learned how to pronounce his name on that episode, and you know him as well. And when you came over, did sort of that whole Kiwis in London community and that stuff, did that help you sort of integrate, sort of assimilate to London life, or? Yeah,
that's how I met Clint. The good people at Starbucks call him something else, though. if you follow him on socials, you'll see.
And if you look at his name in capital letters,
No, when I moved here, the Aussie in London community was a lot smaller. The Kiwis were the big one. That was the one, like, you have to join Kiwis in London. And Clint and the team were great, like back then, in doing big parties at the old Chatty that was there back in the day, in Belushi's and various places. And just lots of events, and Waitangi Day pub crawl and various things. And there's this cool little phenomenon here, which I'm sure you guys have all seen, that back home we're rivals and over here we're all Antipodeans, right? We're all just mates. So that you know that little rivalry, even like, oh, you're from Melbourne, or you know, you're from it doesn't exist.
No,
it's
no,
like
no.
you're all Aussie and Kiwis, you're all here together.
Yeah.
And that was really great that when you'd go to the Kiwi in London events, it didn't matter that you were Aussie or whatever. It was just quite fun. And yeah, I used to go to them quite a bit. I did try to go to the Aussie ones, but the Aussie ones were, like I said, it didn't exist to the capacity it does now.
Yeah.
And but they've always been really good communities, and I would recommend anyone get in touch. Like I don't go to them as much anymore because I'm just old now. But when I was younger, they were great. But on the socials, like I love seeing the community engagement. You know, like you always see like younger kids going, I'm moving to London, how much should I be earning, or where should I be living, or you know, where can I find chicken schnitzel, and there's just always just people that are just like, go here, do this, do that, you know, this place do good coffee.
I reckon that's the most posted thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people with eye problems.
Yeah. Lots of people with eye problems. Specsavers is bad.
I think one thing we also spoke about, like, obviously the price of pints is hugely changed.
Yes.
So it's been the big one.
Not if you got a 30% discount at Urban Pubs and Bars.
So just for our
code.
So,
put that QR code.
Yeah, I was going to say, for our listeners, you now have one of those. But apart from the price of pints, what do you think has changed most since you've been here?
The food scene has changed massively.
We talked about
Absolutely massively.
Really?
For the better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
I think COVID was the big changer, because it's only been the last few years. Like when I moved here, it was still not that far off like the whole mad cow disease. So meat wasn't great when I moved here. It was like
I'd agree with that.
It was a bit silver.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the best thing in the world. And
What does that mean, silver?
like as in it looked silver.
Yeah.
Like it looked grey.
Not good
Like
quality.
the color of the steak looked a bit
It's
grey.
probably a bit old. It's probably been imported from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. And but then suddenly, I think during the last 5-6 years, you know, it sort of rise to like, you know, the place like Buns from Home, where it literally was people making buns at home, and now they've got like.
Do you remember that
places.
thing during COVID, like eat out to live out, or live out
Yeah,
to eat?
eat out to take it. That's
Eat
the
out
one.
to
That's the one. Yeah,
See, I thought that made a heap. Like a lot of people didn't like it,
I love
but
it.
it made a heap of business take off.
Yeah.
because they were able to offer
Yeah.
their food at, you know, substantially lesser price.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
But you've seen things in the last few years as well, like and social media as well. Like I'm a big fan of social media. I generally love it, and you've seen like the rise of people like eating with Todd.
Oh, mate, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
do you follow Eating with
Yeah,
Todd?
of course.
Yeah.
You know, and there's loads of people
Mate,
like that.
honestly.
Hungry Cat was one as well. That,
I'm on a health kick at the moment.
that people know, but there's
Eating
loads
with
of
Baz, That's
yeah.
There's not a lot of that going on.
I'm on a health
17
kick, and
kilos down.
every time he posts something, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I've got to go there.
Oh, it's the best. But there's so many people like that who are just going around and going, you have to try this, you have to try that. And then
Yeah.
you go to somewhere like Spitalfield Market. When I first moved here, it was a vintage market. You know, you go there and find old records or old clothes.
Yeah.
Now it's a food market.
Right.
And there's really good stuff there.
Yeah.
And the street food that was once upon a time £3-4 is now £11.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good quality. So I've found and even pub food has gotten a lot better. Just restaurant food, like people are having to be good because there's so much options out there. And London is just this ever-changing thing that it never stops. Cool. It never stops moving. So what's there one day is going to be taken over the next. And that's what I've found the big difference.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to ask you one question, because I think we're going to wrap up in a second. You obviously work in hospitality.
Yeah.
What's your favourite restaurant in London?
Oh, but Bear and Jack.
Bear and Jack.
Bear and Jack.
What
yeah.
cuisine is that?
It's
mate?
Persian.
Persian.
There's two of them. There's one in Soho and one in Borough Market.
Yeah.
Both are amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah.
He's just asked what, oh my god. He's just asked, what does Persian
I'm
mean?
from Lismore.
It's like Iranian.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like
knew that.
So Alexander the Great, when he went for
my relative Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. But no, the food's incredible, and it's I think it's in the Michelin guide, but it's actually not that expensive. So you can get a tasting menu for 40 quid.
Okay.
And go with a couple of people, you do not leave hungry. Like there's these like big, they're essentially like souvlaki's, but these big kebabs.
Yeah.
hummus,
like
all that.
Middle Eastern.
Middle
cuisine,
Eastern.
yeah.
You sit over the counter and watch them cook it.
I
It
mean,
is,
obviously in
great food.
Sydney, it's all like kebabs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's almost like a deconstructed kebab, isn't it? You kind of make.
Yeah, it's so good though. It's Bear and Jack, put it on your list.
Put it on the
Just
list.
Go when you meet a girl at the singles night. Say
Harry meets you.
I'll be meeting no one.
take him to Bear and Jack for a night out. Yeah. I don't work on commission there, but
Yeah. Well, listen, mate. We're reaching the end. I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and obviously sharing a bit about your personal life and before you moved over and that loss with your dad, because I think there are people out there who will relate. And just thank you for being so transparent, I guess, about a lot of things. So I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
So it's nice to get a different take, and I think that's what it's all about, right? Getting different perspectives of all, like people from all walks of life. So thank you very much for
thanks for having me. The Greek community will make this the highest rated episode.
Awesome,
Nick.
George,
Exactly.
Do we have to say go St. George? Or
of course, yeah.
Well, the big man over here.
But yeah, just to wrap things up, as usual, guys, visit our socials: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Leave us voicemails or voice messages. Like always, the support is greatly appreciated, and hopefully we can grow this further and can kind of sustain it because I think it's there's some value in it.
I agree. And obviously go to some urban pubs and bars.
That's it. And follow Kiwis in London. if you haven't already.
Thank you guys. Thank you, fellow Antipodeans, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.